Hi, welcome back to Lakeside Quilt Making Arts, the place where we are exploring all the arts of quilt making, one video at a time, one day at a time, one baby step at a time. I'm doing a little bit of everything and trying to share what I learn or what I'm trying to unlearn as I go along. So thank you for being here, and I hope that you're enjoying what you're seeing in the content. I really appreciate all those who are subscribing and watching and liking and sharing and emailing. I would like to see more of your projects so that I can share more of those. That would just do my heart good. All right, what are we doing today? Well, I'm giving you guys a bonus Saturday video. So I'm going to start in on the blockheads. Blockheads 5, Group 2. This star is Morning Star by Barbara Groves of Me and My Sister Designs. I've heard that name thrown around, but I haven't explored who they are. So now's my opportunity, right, to learn more about who they are, or who Barbara is anyway. I'm assuming there's a sister involved here, that there's a they involved. This is a star, what it looks like. So it's complex enough that it could be really fun if I'm in a mood to do it as a 6-inch block. Am I in that mood? I think I might be. Normally I like my 6-inch blocks to be a little bit easier. But with this with this block, thinking about doing mostly green with just throwing in some blue and some taupe. So we'll see. I haven't really thought that out yet. We're about to do that. And then I'm going to head out the door and I'm going to go to Huntsville, which is what I call town. I live at the lake and outside of Huntsville about 40 minutes. And then I go into Huntsville where my quilt stores are and physical therapy and doctor's appointments and family and those kinds of things. There is a small town here and called Scottsboro, where I can get plenty. We don't have a Target, but we've got a Publix, which is a nicer grocery store in this area, Chick-fil-A, Home Depot, Walmart. Did I mention Publix? I love my Publix. We've got all the basic things I need here, but we don't have a quilt store. So I go into town for a quilt store. And the reason I'm going to the quilt store today to find fabrics for the quilt along or sew along that I'm going to be doing along with, well, they don't know I'm doing it, but I'm doing it along with everybody, all the other viewers who are doing it with Kimberly Jolly, Pat Sloan, and Sheri McConnell. What a trio, right? How could I pass on that? I'm not so sure that I like the fact that the quilt has a big border on it, so I'm not going to worry about finding that fabric. Do that last minute, find something that complements, maybe, and if not, I'm not going to do it. I just don't think it suits the person that I'm giving it to. So it's okay if it's smaller in my book and doesn't have that outer border. But the person that I'm getting this quilt fabric for, and I'm going to be making this quilt for, it's one of the angels in my life who helped me in a big way while I was going through my season of surgeries. She and her husband went to Charleston. They drove in just so that they could take me to the hospital and get me back out of the hospital and get me pass the baton to the next person who was coming to care for me. And I want to gift them with a quilt. The only problem is she doesn't do color. I don't know. Like, how do I have a friend who doesn't do color? I love color, but I also love neutrals, so I do get it. And you walk into her home, and it's gorgeous. It's just so her, too. It's all neutrals, but you don't feel like you're in a space void of color. She's got a wall of windows out the back where you can see nature, and that's really what speaks to her. But I did notice in her bedroom, like I've forgotten now if it was a comforter or if it was sheets or a blanket inside the bed that was blue. And I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a really moody palette quilt for her. Just like nothing bright and no hardly any design on it. So we're going to do solids, maybe a little bit of tone on tone. I don't know what I'm going to find. There's a part of me, the business hat, wearing the business hat says, okay, Dawn, if you're going to do this quilt along that everybody else is doing, all the big names are doing it, everyone's going to be following you, that's going to be good for your channel. So you should also use one line of fabric where people will be finding your channel because of that line of fabric or some other logic along those lines. But, truth is, I need this quilt to be a gift, and I need it to be something that my friend would want. So I'm going to go to the store today, and because I did look on Fat Quarter Shop's website, when was that? The last 2 or 3 days, actually. And I thought, well, I just don't know. Like there's a set of, I'll show them to you on screen. There's a set of grays, but that might work. But there's some really pretty light ones in there. I don't know that I need to pay for light ones because I don't think I need to have much light at all. I think this really needs to be, number one, it's going to be a challenge, right? It's a challenge to me to try to make a really appealing quilt that has depth and interest to it, but I'm using just saturated dark grays and blacks and blues and taupes at the most. Well, not even taupes, but um, maybe a little bit of a medium blue as my light, maybe a little bit of a medium um, tan, or maybe a dark tan. I don't know. I don't really think I'm going to even do that. So I'm thinking if this new one, this quilt is supposed to have, I think it was 45 fat quarters in it. So if I go with 5 different shades of grays and blues and mm, grays and blues and blacks, and then in each one of those have a light, medium, and dark. And of course, your light has to be pretty dark. So that's going to be a challenge. So, yeah, this is a challenge, but I think I'm up to it. I do like curating from a variety of places. I know that it is a win win when you take a fabric line, short like this shoreline, and you start cutting it up and piecing it together. It is going to be eye catching every time. You name the fabric line, name the designer and their fabric, and then you're making a block from that fabric line. You're going to have a showstopper. As long as you don't let your dog chew it up, and it looks like, that, then you're going to have a showstopper because everything coordinates. Well, I'm a little bit of a, maybe I've noticed, but I'm a little bit of a, I can do it myself. I want to do it myself. I want to do it my way. I'm a little bit too much that, and I know it, but I like being that way, and it just is who I am. And I'm not going to challenge it necessarily. And right now, I'm going to actually tap into that part of me. I like playing with color. I like looking at value. I like looking at different hues and learning about color theory. And you know why? this is this is also telling on myself. The reason why is I was always a bit of an artist. Like I started like probably in grade school when my mother was showing me how to make trees and coloring. I just enjoyed it. She gave me some paints to use, and I remember where I would sit at the kitchen bar and do those kind of things, and it inspired me. And I saw my mother be an artist. Okay, so there was always a little bit of an artist in me. And then I had somebody say, "You don't understand color, do you?" I'm like, "Ooh, boy." That challenge is on. Oh my goodness. So you know what I did? I went to Home Depot and, well, not immediately, but this was just part of the process because it's like, okay, do I understand it? I think I do. And maybe I don't. And so I started diving into it and thought, there's a lot to learn, a lot more than I thought. And that was a good 25 years ago now. So I have learned a lot. But what I did back then initially is I needed to paint different rooms in the house. And like, okay, I want each room to be a different color. It was the early 2000s. We just got out of the 90s, and that was kind of an okay thing to do. I wouldn't do that now. I have a completely different aesthetic that I want in my home, but it suited that house. I needed to make it work. I had a really orange wall, and I had a really red wall, and then I had some whites and some yellows, and it flowed. I wanted it to flow. Well, I went to Home Depot and I got a paint chip, and I laid out because I thought when I was at Home Depot, well, look, here's color, and look at this display. If I could just take this display home and study it for a while. And we really didn't have our smartphones back then and whatever. So I got one of each of the paint chips and I spread it out on my living room floor. And I just studied it and looked at how the shades worked. And You look on the back of the paint chip and it tells you what else it coordinates with. And, it was just the beginning. But I dove in deep. And so I've been reading and learning along the way. And I really find it very exciting. I have a girlfriend in South Carolina, just coincidence that she's in the same state as one of my doctors. And she's also been one of the ones who has helped me tremendously in this. And she's also been one of the ones who's helped me tremendously in this surgical journey of mine. She and her husband, mostly her, but her husband's tolerated me. And I know her because I knew him first, so it was a little bit easier. It's not like I was just some complete stranger to him. But she's been a phenomenal support to me through all this. And I've stayed at her home some during some of my recoveries. But going back to my point, she is a phenomenal colorist. And I've had multiple conversations with her about wall color, house colors, interior, exterior. She's just knows this stuff. She's just amazing. I'm telling you, she is amazing. She has a degree to back it up from a design school in Ohio, and she's my age or a little bit older, and she's been practicing all this for all those years. So I'm in good hands bouncing off any color thoughts with her. Oh my gosh, that was a lot, wasn't it? I can get long-winded, and I do apologize. But, hey, well, what can I say? I love color, and I love to talk, and I love quilts, and I love textiles and fibers and fabrics, and it just all gets me very excited. So, and I just wanted you guys to have a little bit of the background. I think I'm here for the challenge. I really think that this could be a challenge. But let me first start by going to the quilt store. The one I'm going to today is called Southern Charm. If I have time, I might go to the other one, which is called Patches and Stitches. Both of those are in Huntsville, Alabama. We have a Joann's in Huntsville as well. Bought fabrics from Joann, and I will continue to buy fabrics from Joann. But when I'm going to look for my finer quilting cottons, I'm going to one of the quilt stores, that's just a specialty quilt store. All right, my friends. With all that said, I will show you what I find in the Moody blues, blacks, and grays. I know I said I'm not going to do more shoreline on this particular quilt, but and I also said I was going to do all solids, but if I want to put in some movement in this quilt, more of this fabric from shoreline, more of that particular design would be probably acceptable, but I don't want it to have a floral feel. So I would have to use it sparingly. And that's the other challenge. This quilt is going to be a challenge quilt for me. When I'm working on the Moda blockheads, I'm challenged with every one of them. I'm learning and I'm reinforcing the thing that I learned from the last one, those kinds of things. And I appreciate that. It's every time I come in here to work on a Moda blockheads, I know that I need to be paying attention because this is an opportunity to learn. And I know that's what's going to be happening with this sew along with Kimberly Jolly and Pat Sloan and Sheri McConnell. Is anyone else doing it? I don't want to leave out anybody. If you know of another YouTuber who is doing that, let me know so I can include them so they get, people are redirected to them as well. So I know the one that Kimberly and Pat and Sheri are doing, there's going to be challenges, there are going to be lessons learned, and it's going to be really cool to have them doing YouTube content that I can go and reference. That's exciting me. I am just really here for that. I really am. Really, truly, I don't mean to be overly exuberant, but I truly am overly excited about this. So I'm going to shut up now and get to the store. My goodness, color is an amazing thing, isn't it? Inside the store, I was surrounded, of course, by color. And I'm walking around trying to find just a few fabrics, right? I don't need the entire store's worth of fabric to make this quilt. I just need my Moody blues, my midnight storm over the ocean palette. But evidently that's hard to find in a quilt store. And you know why? Because quilters evidently love their color too. So I looked and I looked and I looked, and I peeled back some bolts and looked in, all the cracks and crevices, and I did come up with this palette that you're seeing on screen. And in the store, I really felt like I was compromising. I felt like, okay, I don't know that I'm going to get 45 fat quarters of this. I'm just going to get enough. And then whatever size this turns into be, I'll make that into a quilt for her, because she's really expecting nothing, period. But I'm giving her a quilt. She doesn't know it. And so, if it's a 50-inch quilt or if it's, a 90-inch quilt, she won't really know. And as long as it looks good and it looks cohesive and complete, it's good. So I just got a good sampling of fat quarters and everything that you're seeing on screen right now. And I get home, like I said, it's a 45-minute drive from there to here. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what are you going to do? Because you're probably going to get bored of every week making blocks out of just this palette because it's lacking color. So is that going to appease me to do a year-long sew along? Well, I started thinking about it. I thought, well, maybe I do this quilt in double. I'm going to regret that, I know. But maybe I make a sample of each block in color and then a sample in this Moody Midnight Storm Over the Ocean palette. Okay, that makes sense, but I don't think this is a quilt, but I don't think this so long is like a 1 block a week kind of thing. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to do a Moody Midnight Storm Over the Ocean palette, and I'm going to do that for my friend. Hers will not include a border. I don't think I like the border, period. I just don't typically like that. I don't know why. Just me. I've seen some where I do like it just fine, and I've actually put borders on a quilt and I liked it. I just think on this particular quilt, the interesting part is, the part on the inside of the border. So we'll see. These are my colors and I'm pleased with them. And tomorrow, hopefully I'll get to start cutting on the Moda blockhead. Yes. So stay tuned on Saturday. You'll see a video for the Moda blockhead. Now, of course, I'm doing block 4. Since it's a bonus video, I'm stepping back and to one of the ones I've missed. I'm doing block 4. And I will get whatever I get done, I'll get that video up on Saturday. And then the next day I'll do another one. I've got some big endeavors, personal endeavors for the next 3 or 4 days. So my time in the studio is going to be limited. But I promise you, I'll be in the studio. If it's 9 o'clock at night, I will be doing something and making some progress, moving the needle, as they say. That should have been the name of this channel, Moving the Needle, because I use that expression a lot. So I hope you've enjoyed this little dive into color theory and gift giving and the theory of all that. It's always a joy. I never know what the day is going to bring. Every day is different when you're exploring the arts of quilt making. Do you hear my Zoe in the background? She's panting. She wants me to do something. I'm going to go take care of her. Guys, have a great rest of your day. Happy stitching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.